Hello friends, welcome to CC Gurukul live lectures on management accounting. Myself Aditya P. Tripathi. I am here to continue our discussion on the topic of statement of cash flows. In present lecture of mine, I shall be telling you about the direct method of preparing statement of cash flows. In the very introductory lecture, I tried to explain you what is statement of cash flow, what is there into it, what is the purpose behind preparing statement of cash flow, and what are the modalities, what is the standard, the relevant standard for it, that is Ind AS 7. And in this lecture of mine, I shall be telling you about how to prepare statement of cash flows as per direct method. As I told you, there are two methods. One is direct method, another is indirect method. So you must know both the methods. So starting with the direct method, what is there into direct method, what exactly it is, why do we call it direct method? So let me first explain you what is direct method of statement of cash flow. Why do we call it direct method? Because in this method we are directly trying to find out the cash items which are in terms of inflow and outflows directly. So rather than going to profit and loss account, we are straight away approaching to the cash inflow and cash outflow. And since we are trying to find out or extract the cash inflow and outflow pertaining to all three activities, that is operating, investing and financing activities directly. That is why we call it direct method of preparing statement of cash flow. So in this method, basically what we do, we try to find out the gross inflows and outflows, and they are ascertained by eliminating the effect of two things. One is accrual principle, another is matching principle. Because while preparing our final account, or you can say financial statements, that is statement of profit and loss account and balance sheet, what we do, we actually follow accrual principle. What is accrual principle? Whether we have received the amount in cash or not, but if it belongs to the current year, on accrual basis we try to incorporate it in our final account. I tried to give you an example of outstanding expenses, prepaid, accrued and unaccrued, which pertains to income and expenses both. So since we are following the accrual principle for preparing our financial statements, we need to eliminate the effect of accrual principle when we are trying to prepare statement of cash flow. Because as the term itself indicates, it is statement of cash flows. There is no place for any other transaction, any other item other than cash. So our only focus is upon cash, because we are preparing statement of cash flows. At times my learners are asking me, sir, why are we supposed to eliminate the effect of accrual principle? Answer is very clear. Because your profit and loss account is having some cash items and some credit items as well. And we are not preparing statement of credit flows. We are preparing statement of cash flows. So we shall only be focusing upon the transactions which involve cash, or in other terms you can say bank, cash or bank. If it is involved, either you are paying by cash or you are paying by some instrument or by bank transfers, then only you have to consider that transaction while preparing statement of cash flow. So you have to first eliminate the effect of or impact of accrual principle, and another is matching principle. Because in matching principle, when we follow the matching concept of accounting, we say that concerned expenses must be matched with the concerned income. So while preparing statement of profit and loss account, when you are showing a specific income, that see, this income is belonging to this year, we have received this income. So no matter whether you have incurred that expenditure or not, but since we are following matching principle, we have to show on the debit side that the concerned expenses which are related to that specific type of income. So my dear learners, we have to first be very sure that while preparing statement of cash flows, we have to work upon profit and loss account, and we have to eliminate the impact of two broad principles which we follow while preparing statement of profit and loss, that is accrual principle and matching principle. In this direct method of statement of cash flow, I would try to show you a format in which we are preparing the statement of cash flow. If you look at the statement of cash flow as per direct method, it is very simple. We have to, as I told you, we have to extract the information, we have to extract the transactions which involve cash. But yes, of course, while preparing this statement of cash flow as per direct method, we are not only supposed to extract the cash information, the transactions which are related, which involve some cash transaction, that is inflow or outflow, Apart from that, we have to classify them in three broad activities, that is operating activity, investing activities and financing activity. So while extracting the cash transactions as per direct method for preparing statement of cash flow, we have to be very sure that yes, it is a cash transaction, either inflow or outflow. But apart from that, once we are sure that it is a cash transaction, we have to classify them into three broad activities, that whether it is belonging to operating activities or investing activities or financing activity. So let us have a look at cash flows from operating activities. I have taken a very simple list of transactions just to provide you a better understanding of the way we prepare statement of cash flow as per direct method. So if you look at receipts, we have shown fee, we have shown fines, penalties and licenses. It means this firm must be dealing into some transactions where the receipt is in terms of fee or fine or penalty or some licensing fee or some other charges. Apart from that, they have some other revenues, and we have shown them as their revenue for both the years. They have some payments also, so payments are always shown in bracket because it is a negative item, it is a cash outflow since it belongs to the outflow category, or you can say either we show it by deducting, that is minus, or we put a bracket just to indicate, just to signify that it is an outflow, it's an item which belongs to the outflow category. So if you look here, we have employee cost, we have other expenses, and after adjusting expenses with the income, we come to know about net cash from operating activities. So either it will be cash, it will be on the positive side or negative side. If your outflow supersedes the inflow, then obviously your net cash from operating activities shall be negative. You would say that yes, we have not generated, we have used cash in this operating activity. And once you are sure with it that we have taken care of all cash transactions which belong to operating activities category, we summarize it by saying or showing that it is net cash generated or used from operating activities. So it is very simple, my dear learners. We have to simply find out the cash transactions, the inflow and outflow related to operating activities. We have to simply post it here and show the net cash generated from or net cash used in operating activities. Once operating activities are over, we have to find out the second head, that is we have to move on to the second head, that is cash flow from investing activity. In this category, what we do, we have to find out all those items, all those transactions which belong to investing. Investing means what? You are either buying some property or you are making some investment into some securities or bonds. For instance, suppose if you have bought some machinery, you have bought some a piece of land, you have made some investment into shares, debentures, building or any other asset for that matter, that will belong to investing activity. So in this category, if you have to broadly classify that what shall be the possible item for inflow and what shall be the possible item for outflow, it is very simple to segregate. Under this head of investing activities, either you would purchase some investment, either you would make some investment into plant, machinery, furniture, building. So wherever you are purchasing something and it doesn't belong to your routine business, remember every purchase cannot be classified under the head of investing activity. We have to be very sure that it should not belong to my core business, my basic operations. That is, if I am dealing into shares and debentures, I am a broker, then that purchase and sale of shares and debentures cannot be classified under the head of investing activity. It has to essentially go to operating activities. Otherwise, for other than broking business, purchase of shares and debentures, it belongs to investing activity. So inflow can be what? Sale of investment. It can be dividend received, it can be interest received, or whatever revenue you are generating out of your asset, that will be classified as your cash inflow. But when we talk about the cash outflow, what can be the possible item for cash outflow? All payments, whether you have bought some asset or you have made some investment into shares or debentures, that would go under the category of cash flow from investing activity. So my dear learners, at times you have this doubt that, sir, you told us that every investment in shares and debentures cannot be classified into investing activities, whereas we have seen in the books it is written that when you are buying shares and debentures or when you are making investment into some securities, it belongs to investing activity. Yes, it is correct, but partially. You have to first understand what is the core business of this specific firm for which you are preparing statement of cash flow. If that specific firm is dealing into shares and debentures, then whatever investment you are making into shares and debentures, it means you are making investment into inventory. And inventory belongs to which activity? Operating activity. So you have to be very sure about the nature of business. If your company is a broking agency, if you are a broking firm, the purchase and sale of shares and debentures cannot be clubbed under the head of investing activity. So you have to be very sure. Suppose if you are talking about a real estate business, there is a broker who is buying flats and selling flats. Obviously that flat purchase and sale of flat doesn't belong to investing activity. It cannot be classified under the head of investing activity. Reason is very simple. Because your core business is buying and selling properties. So that, property, purchase of property and sale of property is your operating activity. It is just like somebody is selling goods and purchasing goods. You are buying some goods and you are selling it to your customers. So you have to be very sure about the nature of business of that specific firm for which you are preparing statement of cash flow. Now this is the only disclaimer, or this is the only alert I would like to offer to you. I would say you need to be very vigilant while classifying the activities, the transactions into different activities, that is operating and investing. Now moving on to cash flow from financing activities. Again you shall be in search of all those transactions which belong to cash category, which are in terms of cash. So either you will go for issuing shares, debentures, or you will take bank loan. It means it will result into inflow, or you will go for repayment of that loan, or you can say at times you are going for buyback of your shares. In case of equity shares, you are redeeming your shares and debentures, redemption of preference shares, redemption of debentures. That involves cash outflow. Apart from this purchase and sale of issue of shares and redemption of shares and debentures, there can be another category of cash outflow, that is payment of dividend. You are paying dividend to your shareholders. You are paying interest to your debenture holders, or paying interest on bank loan which you have raised from a specific bank or financial institution. That will result into cash outflow. And after adjusting those inflows and outflow, you will come to know that what is my net cash generated from or net cash used in financing activity. Always remember, my dear learners, either you will have net cash generated from financing activities, or you will have net cash used in financing activity. If your amount comes in negative, if your outflow is more than that of inflow, you would say that, see, this is the amount, this is the net cash used, or you can say you have lost this cash, you have made use of this cash, this much of cash into this specific activity, that is financing activity. And once you have classified all those cash transactions into three activities, that is operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities, you have to aggregate them. You will make some total of these net cash generated from or used in these activities, and you would report that this is my net increase or decrease in cash. Now after reporting it, what you would do, you would again go to the balance sheet. You will try to find out the cash and cash equivalents at the beginning of the period, at the beginning of your financial year. You will add this cash at the beginning of the year into the net increase and decrease in cash, and in an automatic manner you will come to know about the cash or cash equivalent at the end of the period. Now this is the beauty of statement of cash flow, my dear students. You will come to know that whether my calculation is correct or not. There is no need to go for any kind of maneuvering or any kind of adjustment if you are going step by step and your calculation is in order. After finding out the net increase or decrease in cash, the moment you would add the cash or cash equivalents at the beginning of the year, automatically you will come to know about the cash and cash equivalent at the end of the period. So this is the broad format of statement of cash flows as per direct method. I tried to show you the way we have to prepare. The only point is, the only difference with that of indirect method you would witness, because indirect method up till now I haven't taught you. I'll tell you in due course of our discussion. But as of now, let me differentiate, let me tell you a clear distinction between the direct method and indirect method is that in indirect method you start your journey from the profit and loss account, the value, the amount of net profit reported as per profit and loss account. Whereas under direct method we don't do so. We straight away go for extracting all those transactions which have been made, which have taken place in terms of cash, and then we classify them into three broad activities, that is operating, investing and financing activity. So this is the reason, now you must have understood, this is the reason why do we call it direct method of preparing statement of cash flow. Now if you have to understand the entire working of statement of cash flow, because at times my learners are reporting that, sir, I prepared the statement of cash flow but I am not able to aggregate it, I am not able to sum it up. So to sum it up, you will understand you have to start your journey from cash and cash equivalents at the beginning of the period. This is your opening balance of cash, you can say. So for understanding, you can start with this opening balance of cash and cash equivalents, and then you start working. You try to find out the cash flows during the year. Across the period, you have to find out that what is the net cash flow under three broad activities, that is operating activities, investing activities and financing activities. And once this cash generated or lost during the year is added to the opening balance of cash and cash equivalents, in an automatic manner or in an obvious manner, you come to know about cash and cash equivalents at the end of the period. So this is the way, my dear students, we prepare statement of cash flow. This is basically the broad flow chart for the statement of cash flow which we are preparing. So for a better understanding, you should have a broad structure of the statement of cash flow, that what exactly we are doing. See, although it is very important for you to learn how to prepare statement of cash flow, but what is more important is to know what I am doing, where I am heading for. Why do I need to calculate this cash flow from operating activities, investing activities and financing activity? The reason must be known to you, that why do I need cash flow, cash generated from operating activities, investing activities and financing activities? Because you are preparing a statement of cash flow to offer the information related to cash flows in a classified manner. Otherwise, your cash book is sufficient enough to provide you opening balance of cash and closing balance of cash, but it doesn't provide you the information in a classified manner. Now, why do we need information in a classified manner? Another question you may pose in front of me, that, sir, why do we need information in a classified manner? Answer is very clear. Unless you know that under which activity my cash is being lost or cash is generated, I cannot take corrective measures, corrective steps. So in order to take corrective steps, we need to know that where are we lacking. Either we are lacking into operating activities or investing activities or financing activities. So having said this very importance of providing information into in a classified manner, you must have understood that why do we need cash flows, cash generated during the year in a classified format, just to take a corrective step in future by the stakeholders. They can catch hold of mistakes, they can catch hold of the flaws into the system, that where are we using the cash. Suppose, for instance, you have taken a lot of bank loan. Your cash flow from financing activity is going in a positive manner. So if your financing is increasing, it means you are taking significant amount of loan, then obviously your investment should also increase. But what if your financing is increasing but your investment is static? It means there is some problem. You are trying to make use of this capital which you have raised via issue of shares or debentures for meeting out your operating losses. So this is something which we need to check before we enter into the corridors of insolvency. So this is the reason, my dear learners, that why do we need to refer to statement of cash flow apart from having a look at statement of profit and loss account and balance sheet? Because statement of profit and loss account essentially it provides you the financial performance of the company. Balance sheet is reporting you the financial position of the company. But what about the cash position? Merely having a look at cash book is not going to suffice your purpose. It's not going to complete your purpose, to fulfill your purpose. So we need to go to the statement of cash flow. Now I would tell you activity wise that what we do into statement of cash flow as per direct method when we have to provide cash flows in a classified manner, starting from cash flow from operating activities under direct method. So what we are doing here, we take up gross receipts and payments on account of operating activities and we try to provide them at one place. The difference between receipts and payments, they are taken as net cash from operating activities. If it is positive, which means cash inflow is more than that of cash outflow, we would say this is net cash generated from operating activities. But in case it is negative, we would write net cash used in operating activities. Direct method, basically what it does, it excludes non-cash and non-operating items. When we are preparing statement of cash flow and we are dealing with the net cash from operating activities, we exclude what? We exclude two things. One is non-cash items, another is non-operating item. So non-cash need to be excluded. Apart from that, anything which doesn't belong to operating activities, as of now, it is of no use for me. This we have to keep in mind. And we also remove the impact of, as I told you at the very outset, we have to remove the impact of accrual basis of accounting and also the matching principle, right? So while dealing with the cash flow from operating activities, we take up gross receipts, we subtract gross payments from them, and then we declare that this is either my net cash generated from operating activities or net cash used in operating activities. Now once it is over, we move on to the next head, that is cash flow from investing activities. Under direct method, what we do, we again try to find out all transactions which involve cash and they are dealing with the receipt of interest on investment. So there can be a receipt of interest on investment that will be classified as your cash inflow. So we would write there receipts of interest on investment. It can be, there can be a sale of investment. You are selling out your investment, so there is an inflow. There can be acquisition of new investment. You have bought some new new shares or debentures, that is acquisition of new investments. When we talk about the cash outflows, there can be a payment of taxes on earnings from investment. So this will be your outflow under the head of investing activities. So do remember, my dear learners, when we are dealing with investing activities, we will not look here and there. We will only concentrate about the cash transactions, that too which is related to investing activities. It is just like, when you are attending the class of management accounting, then you will only talk about management accounting, you won't talk about any other subject. Similarly, when you are dealing with cash flow from investing activities, you will not even discuss about the cash flow from operating activities. You shall only focus upon cash flows from investing activities. So either it is inflow or it is outflow. If it belongs to investing activities, it need to be posted here. After this cash flow from investing activities is over, again we try to find out the difference between the inflow and outflow. Either it is positive or negative, and accordingly we declare that either it is cash generated from investing activities or cash used in investing activities. Once it is over, we move on to the next step, that is cash flow from financing activities. Again the same process, we have to only focus upon the cash flows related to financing activities. We take up issue of shares, debentures of issue of shares and debentures for cash. Remember, other than cash, if you are issuing shares and debentures, that shall not be considered here. Because remember, my dear learners, always remember, we are not preparing statement of credit flows, we are preparing statement of cash flows. So any transaction, if it doesn't involve cash, that is not our cup of tea when we are preparing statement of cash flow. That shall not be included. Redemption of shares and debentures, suppose if you are redeeming the shares and debentures, that will be your cash outflow. There can be some payment of cash dividend, interest on shares and debentures, that shall also be classified under the head of financing activities. So if we talk about the preparation of statement of cash flow as per direct method, it is very simple. You have to simply find out the cash transactions related to inflow and outflow and then classify them under three activities, that is operating, investing and financing. Now after understanding how to prepare it, let's talk about what is the merit, what is the benefit of preparing statement of cash flows as per direct method, and at the same time what is the limitation of it. If you look at the benefit of this statement, it seems very simple. And yes, it is very simple. It is easier to understand for the reader. Anybody who is having a look at statement of cash flow, it seems that you have simply classified receipts and payments under each head, and there is no rocket science into it, and you are preparing your statement of cash flow. There is no technical steps involved, and obviously we are not resorting to that. It is a direct method, it is easier to understand. But yes, of course, when you are going to prepare statement of cash flow, As per direct method, greater or significant efforts are required by the business enterprise to prepare it. Because at that point of time, accountant will keep on asking, the person who is preparing statement of cash flow shall keep on asking about it, that give me the details of all cash transactions, and then I will classify. Whereas under indirect method, what we do, we take a profit and loss account and we try to apply our common sense, which is very much important there while preparing statement of cash flow. You have to sense those transactions. So my dear learners, in this way I tried to explain you the direct method of preparing statement of cash flow. I shall be taking some examples in the next lecture of mine, and then we shall move on to the indirect method of preparing statement of cash flow. I hope you must have understood and enjoyed today's lecture of mine. Thank you so much.